Segment 3, picking up the tab. Never enough. The programs, yes, need to be paid for, but very, very rich people and giant corporations will pick up the tab. And by blackening the skies with crisscrossing dollars, the welfare state manages people's perceptions of its costs and benefits to encourage them to believe an impossibility that every household can be a net importer of wealth. Close quote. Explain that.
Yeah, I'd be a bigger fan of liberalism if they'd be more honest on this point. If they would say, look, the programs we want to carry out here to help the poor, the suffering, the people who are sick, these are expensive undertakings. Living in a society that has these kinds of protections will make all of us better off. Those of us who find ourselves needing to avail ourselves of one or more of these programs clearly will be better off, but the rest of us will have the sense of security and social solidarity and psychic satisfaction of living in a society that's takes care of its vulnerable better. Therefore, my
the ideal liberal.
The ideal liberal says, therefore, we should all pitch in and help, and we don't have to turn the IRS into our favorite government agency, but we should understand that these are the burdens we pay in order to make our society a better place to live. If I heard that, I would, I'd have hard questions about what the limits of the enterprise would be, how it would be funded, how it would work. But I would have a great deal of respect for the people who put that argument
forward. For the
forward.
fundamental honesty of the
That's
argument.
Right.
Okay. Let me quote to you again from Never Enough.
Yeah.
Quote, confining tax increases to the most prosperous 2% of the population in order to award valuable prizes to the other 98% will result in making 49 people happy for every one you make angry, which seems like a good formula for winning an election.
Yes.
Close quote.
Yes, the gap between this ideal liberal and the actual was shown in the 2008 campaign when both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, competing for the Democratic nomination and then later the general election, promised repeatedly and categorically that if elected, no federal tax on any family making less than $250,000 a year or any individual making less than $200,000 a year would increase. Not income taxes, not any other...
Nothing.
Not nothing. Well, you do that, you come into office, as Barack Obama did, saying there's this long list of wonderful things we want the government to do, and all of the money increments are going to come about by raising taxes on the 2 or 3% of the population making more than $250,000 a year. I don't think it works numerically. I just don't think there's enough money in those precincts for that to work out. But even if it did, I don't think it works sort of philosophically. You read the, you know the liberal blogger Matthew Iglesias. You read him, yeah. Well, he had a very interesting reaction to this $250,000 limit put forward by Obama, which was the bad thing with that proposal from the liberal point of view is that it concedes the core conservative argument, which is that the welfare state is not worth having. It's worth having only if somebody else pays for it.
Bill, here's what I'm probing for, I guess. That the welfare state is almost necessarily, I haven't thought it through, maybe it is necessarily, but for sure almost necessarily insidious. And here's why. Because it creates almost irresistible incentives for the government and those who support the expansion of the welfare state to be fundamentally dishonest with the American people. So Franklin Roosevelt, what did you call him, the virtuoso, the political virtuoso, says, here's how we'll handle Social Security. We won't just make it a program for poor people, we'll make it a program for everybody, making everybody feel bought in, so to speak.
That's right.
And will create the impression that you're putting money away for your own retirement. Fundamentally untrue. That is just not the way the system works, and yet that's what most Americans appear to have believed for most of the period that program has been in existence. Item one. Item two, it creates incentives for politicians to buy voters off, not to represent them fairly, but to engage in a kind of class warfare, trying to force costs out of their district and bring benefits into their district, trying to force costs off the great mass of voters and onto the small number of wealthier voters, and to be fundamentally dishonest about it, just as you said. blackening the skies with crisscrossing dollars. The welfare state manages people's perceptions. The government of the United States ought not to be in the position of managing citizens' perceptions. It is outrageous from the get-go.
That phrase, blackening the sky, comes from William Buckley's book, Up from Liberalism. So it's 50 years old. And it was sort of a throwaway line of his. He could do these sorts of things.
Bill had enough to throw away.
Yeah, that's right. I had to bear down on it. But I think it really does get at something that's essential to the American welfare state and the liberal project, which is that there is, as you say, a concerted effort to make people believe that everybody can come out ahead if a finite number of dollars is rearranged kind of furiously.
It's nonsense.
Yeah.
Final quotation in this segment 3 here, when we're talking about the cost. Never enough. Quote, "The only remaining constraint on the growth of the welfare state is the problem of paying for it," close quote. So as a matter of political fact, you think we're stuck with it, and the welfare state will grow whenever the economy grows. Whenever there's more money, it'll get spent on the welfare state.
This has been the pattern not only in the U.S. but in European social welfare states too. The slice of the pie allocated to the welfare state grows even as the pie itself gets bigger. So it's growing sort of doubly. It's a larger percentage of a larger total economy. The world has never really seen a shrinking welfare state.